How you doing? And welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed and this is Just Play It for the piano. If you've been following along, we are looking at Alice in Wonderland. We're going to be looking at part number 6 in this series. Before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming up. So in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the second half of our B sections, measures 41 through 48. Now, this can be broken down into two 4-measure sequences. The first 4 measures are going to be simple block chords, and the last 4 measures are going to be a triplet feeling pattern using both our right and our left hands to create the pattern. In our first measure, we're going to be taking a look at a F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord. Now, the way that all of these chords are arranged as their blocks is starting at the melody note and then basically working our way down. This is a very common arranging tool, and it's a great way to write chords when you have a melody note that you already are working with. So in this case, we're going to be starting with this F sharp above our second middle C, and we're going to be working our way down from there. So my voicing was F sharp, C, A, and E. Okay? Now, I could have added an extra F sharp into this sequence, but since I already had it, I really didn't need to. If I had a bass player playing with me, I could have them play that F sharp, or I could take a little bit of time and add the F sharp in to a sequence lower down the piano. So F sharp from the top note in this case, so from the melody note down, F sharp, C, A, E. Now our next chord is a B7 flat 9 chord. Now this chord has a pretty big jump from our F sharp up to C. So if C is now our melody note, we're going to work our way down as C, A, F sharp, D sharp, and B. Now fingerings for these can vary. You could pick whichever fingering works best for you to be able to get there comfortably. I tend to do 3 notes and 2 notes, or 3 notes and 3 notes, depending on which hand they are. So if I start with my F sharp, C, A, E, my first chord, and then I move up, before I did anything else, I would just practice 2 chords going back and forth. So this way I'm more comfortable with this movement, and I don't spend so much time searching for the notes. With my next chord in the sequence, we're looking at 2 versions of E minor chords. So the reason I have 2 different E minor chords is I have 2 melody notes. So my melody note is B, and if I walk down from there, I'm going to end up with B, G, E, and D. So there's our first E minor chord. And then we have a little quarter note where we move our B down an octave, because my new melody note is G. So if we start from the beginning of our sequence, we have our F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to our B7 flat 9 to our E minor chord, E minor 7, to our second version of E minor 7. So for my last chord in this block chord sequence, I have an A7 with E as my melody note. So from here, I'm just going to walk down. So E, C sharp, to A, and then G. So as I put this idea together from the beginning, we have F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7 flat 9 to E minor to E minor with G as the melody note, to A7. Okay, now these are counts of 3. So as long as you can keep your count of 3 going, it makes perfect sense. You know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There is the E minor where you have to change on the note 3, but that really isn't that hard to do. So F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, E minor with G as the melody, A7. Okay. Now in this next sequence, we end up with a series that's, it's all counting. So if you can count, this series starts to make a lot of sense. But if you don't count while you play it, it's never going to work for you. My first 2 notes in this sequence are the notes F and A. Then I'm going to play the note D in the bass note, because what I'm doing is creating a D minor 7 chord. And then I'm going to move to A and make an A7 chord. And it's going to be the notes C sharp, E, and A. So if we count those out, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now this idea is moving down because the main melody is moving down with it. So my next chords are going to be the notes D and F, with D in the bass note coming in, and then a new version of A7. So in this new version I have A, C sharp, and E. So this is the second measure. So if we put those 2 ideas together, we start out with now in this next measure, we're going to change some stuff up. It's supposed to be a D minor 7, but I liked this harmony a little bit better, so I picked the notes B and D. Still going to D. So it's more like a B minor chord than it is a D7. Okay, so B and D. So at the end of this chord, we have our first big change. So instead of going to another A7 chord, we're going to an A flat 7 chord. So we're going to start with our A flat bass note. And then for our melody notes, it's E flat, G flat, and C. So if we put those 2 ideas together, we have our B and D. And then we have a big jump. Now what's nice about this is we're going to go to a G, and everything is very close by. So I'm going to go to this G. You could drag it with your index finger, or you could put your thumb down, and we have the notes D, F, and B to give us our full G7 sequence. So if we do this idea nice and slow, we start out with our F and A, D bass note, to A7. Now D and F, D bass note, A7. Then B minor, and then to G7. Now once again, this whole sequence relies on counting. The idea of going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You could practice these two ideas separate from each other, but eventually they do have to come together and flow from the block chord sequence directly into the triplet feeling sequence at the end of the B section. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to practice as I normally do. So you'll have an opportunity to practice with the sheet music, then with the synesthesia program, then we'll do a combination. And then what I'll do is I'll take away my playing, so this way you could practice with the sheet music by itself, and then you could do that same idea with the synesthesia program. First, let's take a look at this, and you could follow along with sheet music. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's follow along with the drop bars in the synesthesia program. 1, 2, 3. Now you'll get the sheet music and the drop bars, but you won't be able to see my hands. 1, 2, 3. Now, it's time to practice on your own. So here's just the sheet music and no accompaniment. 1, 2, 3. And last, no accompaniment with the synesthesia program and the drop bars. 1, 2, 3. I hope lessons like this are helping you become a better player. These ideas are really straightforward and shouldn't be too difficult for any second-year piano student. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Compliments are nice, but questions let me know that you are learning this stuff. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe, ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming. If you can, please visit my Patreon page. There isn't a lot on there as of this moment, but even a donation as simple as $1 can help me find more time to create more content. It becomes a little bit tough and tight when you're a professional teacher and musician. Good luck and good practice.